This is the captain speaking. All personnel prepare for drop. We are at D-3 and counting.
If I had a quarter for every time I've heard, if you liked Starship Troopers, try this book, I'd be crazy rich by now. The thing is, most of the recommendations don't really pan out. So when I saw the topic of today's video and downloaded the ebook, I wasn't expecting much. Now, the author is Marko Kloos, a guy who served in the military himself before he decided to try writing. And as the story goes, he self-published this novel when the traditional route rejected him. Then, once his personal sales soared, a publisher picked him up. I believe Andy Weir's The Martian saw a similar arc.
Lucky.
Anyway, what novel is this? Well, it's Terms of Enlistment, book 1 of the Frontlines series. And I've got to say, it blew me away. The down-to-earth voice, the believable setting, the action, the main character, all of it landed way harder than I expected. And the military rankings were clearly backed by first-hand experience. If I'm nitpicking, the dialogue occasionally leans on genre stock phrases, but it wasn't bad enough to turn me off. So while I work on this thing I'm working on, I figured it would behoove us to discuss Terms of Enlistment and why you should, or shouldn't, read it. So with that, let the multitasking begin. The novel follows Andrew Grayson, an 18-year-old citizen stuck in the crime-ridden welfare tenements of a futuristic Boston, where the only two ways out are winning a colony lottery or enlisting in the armed forces. Proactively, Grayson enlists, hoping for a shot at the colonial service and a ticket off Earth. But instead, he ends up in the Territorial Army. In other words, ground troops who don't get to leave Earth and spend their time putting down riots in cities just as broke as the one he grew up in.
What is it about me that screams loser?
And his bad luck doesn't end there, as his first real deployment is peacekeeping duty in riot-torn Detroit, a situation that quickly descends into apocalyptic chaos, which I thought was the highlight of the novel. Kind of reminded me of Black Hawk Down. Anyway, character-wise, Grayson just works. He's a welfare rat with zero connections and no illusions about the system he's serving. And that grounded first-person voice carries the book. What really got me was how uncomfortable Kloos lets things get. Grayson isn't thrilled about pointing a weapon at civilians who grew up exactly like he did, and the book doesn't let him off the hook for it. After Detroit, which I would say is only slightly worse than it is now,
boom, roasted.
An injury gets him bumped to a technical posting on a Commonwealth warship, where he reunites with Haley, his boot camp fling. It's a genuinely satisfying arc. Desperate kid to reluctant peacekeeper to something closer to a Starship Trooper, and I enjoyed every step of it. I don't want to spoil the ending, but I will say the back half of the book takes a hard turn from gritty class warfare military drama into full-blown first contact. Something enormous, unstoppable, and quite hostile crashes onto the scene. And the book ends right as everything Grayson thought he understood about the war gets thrown out the window. It's a great hook into book 2, and it earns the shift because it spent so much time making the mundane, grounded stuff feel real first. Speaking of Kloos, the guy has one of the more interesting footnotes in modern science fiction publishing. A few years after this book came out, the sequel, Lines of Departure, got a Hugo Award nomination for Best Novel, except it landed on the ballot as part of the Sad Puppies slate, a campaign that was, to put it mildly, controversial at the time. Kloos withdrew his own nomination once he understood the circumstances, and the slot went to the next book in line, The Three-Body Problem, which went on to win. As a final note, Terms of Enlistment earns every comparison it gets to Heinlein's Starship Troopers and Haldeman's The Forever War. Not because it's reinventing the genre, but because Kloos clearly knows what military life actually feels like from the inside. It shows in every procedural detail from boot camp to chain of command friction to the sheer indignity of military food. Way more grounded than most power, armor, and Space Marines mill sci-fi, this one earns its bigger moments by nailing the small, boring, human ones first. The tension meter climbed every time a superior officer got between Grayson and what he actually needed, which might be the most quietly stressful part of the whole book. And honestly, that's a compliment. With all that said, who is Terms of Enlistment for? I'd say it's for anyone who wants a military sci-fi grunt's eye view instead of glossy space opera heroics. Out of 5 stars, I'd give the story 5, the prose 3, the action 5, the setting 4, the plot 3, the pacing 5, the character arcs 4, and the research 5, for an overall rating of 4.25. That's comfortably above my recommended titles bar of 4.0. So yeah, it has my stamp of approval, but by all means, ignore me and read something else. But before you go, please subscribe and leave a quick comment. Until next time, bye.